This is Smith Rock. It's a haven for hikers, mountain bikers, rock climbers, and it's a wonderland for photographers too. But is it possible to have too much of a good thing? I checked in at the Airbnb before heading out to the park, and consequently I was walking in right at sunset. And on top of that, I'd never been to Smith Rock before, and there's just so much to see. It was a bit overwhelming, to be honest, and I was in awe of the place, while also feeling rushed. I should probably have committed to one place, taken a deep breath, and remembered the fundamentals. Instead, I made some rookie mistakes with my exposure blending. Even the first two blended images I've shared so far don't really hold up under close scrutiny, at least not until I get better at the subtleties of post-processing. But there I felt like a kid in a candy store. I mean, how could you not? The rocks are on fire all around you. Especially at sunset, it seemed like the light was always shifting, always hitting some new piece of the rock face. In front of you, now behind you, now off to the side, it was just so dynamic. This shot was a single exposure I took with my Nikon D850 and 17 to 35mm lens. I even pulled out my Moment wide-angle lens. This panorama is a stitch of two images I took with the Moment lens in my iPhone 12. So Smith Rock is obviously stunning, but what made this visit especially fun for me is that I wasn't out there alone. All right, I have a surprise for you right here. That is my lovely wife, Kate. Remember how 2 videos ago I wasn't sure if I was going to be doing this? Showed her the video, turns out she was kind of into it. So yeah, here we are. And where we are is Smith Rock. Smith Rock is in Central Oregon, near Bend. This is, you described it, Kate, as one of your happy places.
Yeah, it's incredible. You literally drive through high desert. There's, mountains and stuff, but you have no idea that this is right around the corner. And then you seriously just drive around the corner and it's like,
yeah,
incredible. It kind of feels like you're in Utah or one of the national parks, but it's just right here. It's a tiny little thing right in Oregon.
Yeah, it's tiny, but it's magnificent too. I kept saying to her on the drive, I've not been here before. I kept saying, shouldn't we see it by now? Shouldn't we see it by now? But no, it's at once grand and totally tucked away and hidden. So yeah, we took some photographs already at sunset. We're losing the light, we're losing the clouds, but we're going to be back tomorrow morning to shoot it at sunrise. And then after that, we're going to go to
Painted Hills,
which I've also never been to. So yeah, quick Central Oregon trip. We're just 2 parents living the dream, living the adventure. We left our kids behind, well cared for, but yep, we're just out taking advantage of the time to do some photography and spend some good time together. Yeah. All right. See you tomorrow.
So Molly's just sent us a picture from Disney World.
Yeah.
Where she got to ride the Big Thunder Mountain.
Mm-hmm.
And they have kind of this landscape with the hoodoos.
Oh, really? Yeah.
I'm like, this is my version of that,
yeah.
But kind of in our own backyard.
Yeah. I'd much rather be here than Disney World.
And I said it was my happy place. Might not be my happiest place.
Really? You'd rather be at Disney World than here?
I don't know. I've never been to Disney World, but Disneyland? Yeah. No, this is I'll take nature any day.
Yeah. All right, what are you doing over here, Kate?
I'm making eggs and sausage this morning. Cute little camper trailer. Coffee's going. We'll have that in just a few minutes. Oh, it's early and cold.
Last time I went overnight camping, slept in the back of my minivan. I made myself 4 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and I bought a cup of noodles. So
Level up.
I'm totally leveling up. I leveled up when I married Kate. Everyone who knows me will tell you that. It's early. It's cold. Buddy. This is my first time here. And a workshop of photographers got a great spot down there. 5 seconds before we got here, but we're gonna get here even earlier tomorrow. And snag that spot too.
You want a hand warmer?
I have gloves. I'm good. Oh,
It does feel
that's
good.
nice. I admit, I'm obsessed with panoramas.
Yeah.
They are pretty. It is a pretty obvious choice, I will admit. But getting this whole amphitheater is pretty sweet. I think this is going to be like 12 different exposures blended, stitched and blended. Later in this video, I'm going to describe Smith Rock as a photographer's playground, and it is. It's a playground for light too, just like the night before. Smith Rock at sunrise is endlessly fascinating, always changing. But unfortunately, there was just nothing happening in the sky. A real shame, and so I tried to minimize how much sky was in my shots. I also experimented with different foregrounds. That said, I do think the blue of the sky and the orange of the rock complement each other. Turns out this is color theory 101, but I wasn't familiar with the concept until like 5 minutes ago. Before we left, I couldn't help getting out my long lens and photographing this territorial encounter between two herons on the Crooked River. Now, Smith Rock and the Painted Hills are a 90-minute drive from each other. A more experienced YouTuber would give you some B-roll footage of the drive, maybe an epic drone shot of the Oregon high desert. But we really didn't know what we were doing yet, so here's a few seconds of gravel road, and then, like magic, we're there.
Kate, this is someplace you've wanted to come for a long time. What are your impressions so far?
It's really beautiful. It's as colorful as I expected. It's so quiet out here. I mean, you can hear cars and there's a few people here and there, but obviously it's windy. But there's just nothing out here, and it's really nice.
Yeah, and it's very old. We were talking about that. It's what gives these hills their color is that they've been painted by geological time, essentially. And it's very humbling.
Yeah, millions and millions of years and layers and just beyond our comprehension, generations,
Yeah.
of plant life and wildlife. I mean, this place used to be swampy.
Yeah, that's crazy. Right now, it looks like it hasn't seen rain in 50 years.
Yeah.
You know what I was just doing there?
Making a panorama.
Doing a handheld exposure blend.
Handheld exposure blend?
I'm going to be blending these exposures in Photoshop, and I'm going to blend all of the handheld photos I just took. I thought you were going to talk.
No, it's quiet.
Oh. So neither of us are talking. Okay.
It's so quiet.
I feel like I can hear our kids fighting from here, though.
But they're not here. It's so quiet. We heard the wings of the raven fly overhead.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy.
Are you picking up on a theme here? If you're a parent and have young kids at home, get yourself to Central Oregon for some much-deserved peace and quiet. Oh, and bring a camera, or even just your phone, because it's gorgeous out there. Here are a few other photographs from that day. Just like back at Smith Rock, there was barely a cloud in the sky. Plus, it was now mid-morning and the light was harsh. My solution was twofold. One was to minimize the amount of sky in the frame, and to use the strong shadows to my advantage. For example, I like the way the shadows accentuate the rolling features at the bottom of these hills. And this simple detail shot is actually one of my favorites from the day. My other solution to the problem of the boring sky and the harsh light was to just not care. We had only about half a day to be at the Painted Hills, so I wasn't going to fixate on what I could control. The dull blue sky is visible in this photograph, but hopefully what really captures the viewer's attention is the absolute rainbow of colors in this one scene. I can't remember for certain, but I'm pretty sure I used a polarizer in this shot to really bring out the colors. Oh, and yes, I did another panorama. After a great lunch at a brewery in Mitchell, we drove back to the Painted Hills, but Kate fell asleep on the way, so while she slept, I slipped out of the van and I took a 33-image panorama. Stitching it together in Photoshop crashed my poor computer many times. The final file was more than 900 megabytes. The final image, which looked like this, isn't great. I kind of just wanted to see if I could do it, you know? I like this cropped version a little bit better. Okay, and then using a little more YouTube magic, you're going to make the 12-second drive back to the camper trailer, that we got on Airbnb, but there is one more image I want to show you. We went back to Smith Rock that night and took this photograph of the stars. I've really barely started to experiment with astrophotography again. It's easy for me to get distracted by everything that's wrong with this shot. For example, the rock is, I think, too underexposed, but my mantra for this trip was, I'll be back. This won't be our last trip to Central Oregon. And actually, we had plans for one more hike the next day before finally heading home. For our last day at Smith Rock, we decided to go down into the canyon for an easy morning hike along the river. Clouds moved in and out all morning, but around every corner and from every angle, Smith Rock continued to impress. I experimented with horizontal shots and vertical shots. I took panoramas and vertical panoramas. I looked for epic scenes, and I looked for intimate details. We even spent about 15 minutes watching and photographing a heron, maybe one of the herons from the day before it flew up to a cliff above us to forever haunt our dreams. There was so much to photograph that this video feels like it's turned into a glorified slideshow. If you were sitting in my living room and I had a slide projector, this is basically what it would be like. Like I've said before, a more experienced YouTuber probably would have done this differently. Actually, a more experienced YouTuber would have broken this 3-day trip into 3 different, much shorter videos. But we didn't know what we were doing, and we were being driven along by our enthusiasm. The enthusiasm of being able to spend a weekend hiking together in Central Oregon. And my enthusiasm as a beginner photographer, getting the chance to photograph a completely different landscape than the one I live in just a couple hours away on the other side of the mountains. What's crazy is that after 3 days at Smith Rock, even after all these photos, Kate and I had only scratched the surface. We didn't visit Monkey Face. We didn't hike up Misery Ridge. There's a lifetime of beauty to explore, see, and photograph here. And I imagine that every time we visit, it's going to look a little different, based not just on the season, but on what the sky and the light happen to be doing that day.
Well, we're almost back to the car. At that point, we'll eat some lunch and then head home. So, Kate, thank you for sharing this place with me.
Yeah, I'm glad we were able to come.
Yeah, pretty amazing.
It's been a perfect day. And I finally understand why clouds are so important for photographers.
Yeah, I would describe Smith Rock as a photographer's playground. But in fact, there's a belted kingfisher right now. So much so that sometimes it's hard for me to know what to point my camera at. It's pretty amazing and frustrating all at the same time, especially as a relatively new photographer. But you know what I have to keep reminding myself is that this won't be the last time that we're here. I don't have to get every shot this time. And it's all spectacular.
Yeah, it really is.
I have to sneeze.
Okay.
Should we end the video before I sneeze?
Yeah.